Today, we're going to learn about character traits. Now, every important character in a story or a play needs to have their own personality. If they don't have a personality, then the reader or the viewer will not feel as if they know the character. Now, if the reader doesn't know the character, then they won't like and support the hero in a story. And they won't hate and despise the villain in the story. This means that they won't become engaged in the story at all. So that's why the main characters in any story or a play, they really need to have character traits that the audience can recognize. So what exactly are character traits? Well, character traits are the different types of characteristics that make up a person's personality. For example, if we think about superheroes and the heroes in stories, they are usually courageous and brave. Also, they usually have a strong moral code. They will always try to do what's right. Also, they are responsible. They have a fighting spirit. Not that they want to have a fight with somebody, but they are determined and they won't give up. Usually, they are knowledgeable. They're quite smart and intelligent. Also, they are very resourceful. They can use the things around them to help them. Of course, they need to be kind, fair, honest, disciplined. They are usually optimistic and they'll be generous. There are other traits that the heroes of stories usually have. But you can see all of these are very positive. Now, what about the traits of the villains? Well, sometimes they are cowardly. They are also unscrupulous. They really don't care if they upset anybody. They really don't care about anyone else in society. They only care about themselves. They can be very irresponsible. They are fanatical. Now, some of these words are a little bit similar to the heroes. Heroes were determined and they had a fighting spirit. But a villain, we use the word fanatical. They're crazily obsessed with what they want. Now, whereas heroes might be knowledgeable and smart, we'd say the villain is maybe clever or cunning. And of course, they'll be determined to get what they want. They'll also be cruel, unfair, dishonest, undisciplined, probably, vain, and they might like themselves and they want to be perfect themselves. Also, a true villain usually doesn't think that they're doing anything wrong. They just think this is what they do. And they will be merciless. Okay? There are many other negative words to describe villains. Now, we all recognize this character, Superman. But what are his character traits? Well, he's going to be honest. He is a firm believer in justice and fairness. He's kind, generous, all of these things. But be careful. When Cambridge asks you for the character traits, if it's a character like Superman, do not confuse the character's abilities with their characteristics. Okay? So do not say Superman's character traits are He can shoot laser beams from his eyes. He can fly. These are not character traits because it's not his personality. Those are his abilities. Okay? So do not get the character traits mixed up with someone's abilities. And also, in some of the Superman movies, you might see Superman looking sad or upset about something, but that doesn't mean that he is a pessimist. Okay? Usually he's happy and he's an optimist, usually. So just because he was sad once, that doesn't mean it's his character trait to always be sad and unhappy. He was unhappy once, but most of the time, his character trait is he's an optimist. Here's the villains. The Joker. What are his character traits? Well, as we've seen, he's cruel, dishonest, cunning, many of these bad traits. He's very different from Superman's traits, almost all of the opposites. Now, here's Tony Stark, Iron Man. We all recognize him. We've all seen him in the movies. Now, when we think about his character traits, he's not quite the same as Superman. He does have some similarities. Okay? He will fight for justice. He can be very generous. He can be very kind. But let's see. Sometimes he's an optimist and sometimes he's a pessimist. Okay? He is more human. He's more human in the stories. He's not as perfect as Superman. He still has some weaknesses. It doesn't mean that he's evil or cruel. It's just that he's not perfect. Similar, Harry Potter. I'm sure you've seen the movies or read the books. Now, his character traits are, honesty, kindness. He's got knowledge, but also he has weaknesses as well, just like Tony Stark does. Now, in your workbooks, you remember the play script about Amparo, and yesterday we saw the diary of Spud. Well, in your workbooks, you'll find an exercise at the top of page 10. There is a list of characters from both of those texts surrounded by character traits. What you should do is look there. You can see the first example. You can see that Amparo is already matched to the character trait bad-tempered, because she is. She's bad-tempered. What other character traits does she have? If you look at that list, or those words in the circle going around, you can see something else that matches her. Maybe there's a third one as well. She was the only one out of her brothers who decided to go and do the sensible thing and see Uncle Carlos. Okay, so sometimes you'll see two or maybe three that could match with a character, but try and choose the most obvious ones first. So, have a look at the top of page 10. Figure out which character traits each character has. Then complete the Google quiz to check your answers. The Google quiz is in the same location where you found the link for this video in the Google Classroom. After you've done the first exercise, look at the lower half of page 10 in your workbook, and you can see there is a column of character traits. But you need to add the synonyms and then add the antonyms. Now, there are many words that could be synonyms and could be antonyms. But we're looking for very specific ones so we can mark it right or wrong, or rather, so Google can mark it right or wrong. So to make it a little more fun, I've included a word search in the Google quiz. Okay, so you'll see the word search, and if you're really stuck, some of the words you're looking for are there on the Google on the word search, but they're upside down, so you can't cheat by accident. You'd have to want to find the answers, but you can still find them for fun in the word search, and you still have to be able to match them correctly to the character traits at the bottom of page 10. Once again, once you've finished finding those words and filling in the table in your workbook, you should check your answers by typing them into the Google quiz, the second half of the Google quiz. Be careful. When you type them in, there are instructions there. Don't use any capital letters. Don't use any full stops. If you type in anything other than the correct word, or if you misspell the word through carelessness, Google Quiz will mark it wrong. Okay? So just type it in lowercase letters, nothing else. Okay, that's the end of the instructions. Just 2 exercises to do today. See you tomorrow.